Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision. This is yet another weekly update on progress made here at Emory. Just a little bit of progress made on the scenery here. This is the last bit of scenery I need to work on as far as basic scenery and ballast and things like that. I'll soon be moving on to different types of projects like weathering cars and locomotives, adding a staging yard, building structures, and all kinds of fun stuff. This week we not only have an update on the scenery here, but also some cool trains that I thought you might be interested in. So stay tuned for that. This is what it looked like at the beginning of the week. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I spent a week in Florida on the beach in Ormond Beach. So definitely enjoyed that. Been away from the layout for a bit, but now had a chance to be back and report on some work that I've completed. This was actually done 2 weeks ago. We left on Sunday morning, and so I didn't have a chance to update or to post the update. But here's how things looked when the week started 2 weeks ago. And I wanted to make at least some progress on this before I went on vacation. Didn't get a lot done, but did have a lot of fun running trains, which you'll see a little bit of in this video. Now here's the webbing that I put in. And you can see I also made some adjustments to the road and to the flow of things. Just how it kind of all goes together here. You have a culvert that's going to go under the tracks, and of course a road crossing on the tracks. And this is pretty much all I've completed this week. I did go ahead and put the rosin paper on, but I wanted to give you a chance to see how it looks with the rosin paper. And the rosin paper does a good job of also giving it a little bit more support. When you put the plaster gauze on here, it absorbs some of the water, enables the plaster gauze to set up more quickly, and just kind of gives it a little bit extra strength. Also gives you an idea of how it looks, or how it's going to look with the scenery on. Now in the week coming up here, since I'm back from the Florida beach, is to put some plaster on here. And I'm hoping to maybe even get some paint and ground foam and get this taken care of. I doubt I'll get ballast down, but I definitely think we'll get some plaster and hopefully some color. Have to work on some trees yet here, as I said before. But this is pretty much how it looks. There was one more thing that I did. Definitely looks more like a landscape with the paper on there compared to the cardboard webbing. Definitely looks better than the wood benchwork showing through, although you still have the roadbed, plywood roadbed that shows through. But this is pretty much how things look as far as the landscape goes. All right, one other thing I did was took care of this overlap here. And when I built this, benchwork and so forth, I kind of skipped some steps because I just wanted to get all the track in, and so I just went ahead and overlapped them when I put this all together, knowing that down the line I would do some work on here to get even it out. And basically I take my circular saw and just cut along the edge, which leaves a bit of a gap, and then I take the piece that I cut off and I use that to splice the two pieces together. This is the last bit of fascia that I need to paint, which I won't do until I finish all the scenery. Alright, so not a lot of work done this week, but I did get the rosin paper on and also got that little overlap done. This week, again, I'm going to be putting plaster on here and hopefully some ground cover paint and ground cover so that this all blends in with the backdrop and with the existing. Now, for the cool trains, we did have an operating session right before we left on vacation. And one of the things we did is we had a work train sitting between Aspen and Granger. And we went ahead and put some equipment out. I had some guys working on there. Porty Potty was there too if needed. And Tom Maxwell helped me put this kind of together. And we just left this here for the whole operating session. So as we were running trains, we had to have the trains work around this work train. This is a pretty cool boxcar I got from a gentleman at the Amherst show about not this last January, but January 2024. So going to do a lot more work on this on this work train. Want to add definitely some more equipment. Want to have there's a ballast spreader that's pretty cool that I want to put on here, and then a tie replacement machine, and so on. So I want to make this work train as detailed as possible and have different kinds of equipment on there. Get the flat cars all covered up. This is actually a Norfolk Southern locomotive. It's an Athearn ready to run. Now what's cool is when we have an operating session, first of all, before we get to that, here's another really cool train. This is a sodium cyanide train. And I found out about this train. I found out about this train from some UP engineers who were commenting on my videos, and they mentioned that they have this really cool special train that goes out that carries some very dangerous sodium cyanide that is used by the Westvaco mine and plant to process the trona that they mine into soda ash. So it's not a very long train. Here's the tank cars. There's going to be an unloading facility right here where these hoppers are. It won't be very big. It'll just be enough for like 3 cars. And then we are going to have every once in a while, probably not every operating session, but every once in a while, we'll have this sodium cyanide train. And it's very dangerous. These tank cars contains a substance that's highly explosive. So there are special orders for when this train operates. In fact, when it drops off cars, the cars have to sit way over here. They can't even be with the rest of the cars. Even if they're empty, they're still very dangerous. So when cars arrive, those are empty cars right there. And when the cars, those are full cars that this train has just dropped off. And so when it drops off the cars, they have to be put way on the end there. And then part of the operations here at Westvaco will be to move those cars to the loading section. And then after a certain period of time, maybe a couple of fast clocked hours, those cars will be unloaded into storage tanks, and then the empties will be moved back to the little siding there that's far away from everything so that they're not a danger. So now we have this train going back. It runs from Sparks, Nevada. This actual train runs from Sparks, Nevada to Westvaco. and it has a couple locomotives. Now the prototype train has, if I remember correctly, 5 buffer cars, and then 5 tank cars, and then 5 more buffer cars. Again, because of the highly volatile nature of this train. And the maximum speed is 20 miles per hour, which we do keep the max speed at 20 miles per hour. And one of the things that's really cool about this special train is that when it comes across another train, the trains that it's passing up, or trains that it is meeting, the train has to be stationary. So as this train goes by, all the other trains that it meets or goes by have to come to a complete stop, which is pretty cool. Now here it's coming on Granger. Notice the double yellows on the Union Pacific. The double yellows, often called double donuts by the UP engineers, means that it's an approach diverging signal, which means you're going to approach to the next signal, and then at the next signal you will be diverging. So that's what this train is doing. It's going straight on this control point, and then at the next control point it will be diverging. We have some more guys working on the railroad. This is a crossing I put in a while back, controlled by Logic Rail Tech, and the crossbucks and gates are by Details Plus. Now on the layout here, I just have 2 buffer cars, 3 tank cars, and 2 more buffer cars. I might make that eventually 3, 4, and 3. But these are the only cars I had available for the operating session that I use this on. Alright, now this train, most every train is stopped, and it's coming up on the work train, which is also stopped as we pass the pole there. This is now west of Granger, heading towards Aspen. That's a Pocatello sub train in the track there, waiting to come on to the Evanston sub. Now what's really cool about the work train is that not only do the trains have to go around it, but then there's also special work orders that the train has to slow down to 15 miles per hour as it passes the work train. So even though this special hazardous train can go up to 20 miles per hour, it's just keeping at 15 because it knows that it has a work train that it's going to be passing here. Not only does it have to slow down to 15 miles per hour, it also has to turn off its ditch lights and dim its lights as it goes by. There's people working, so you want to make sure you turn your brights off. And then also you keep your bell on. That's a rule for all trains. If you're passing a stationary train on an adjacent track, you have to make sure that you have the your bell on to warn people that you are passing through. Here we blow our horn a couple times as we go by the workers. If there's somebody in the cab of the work train locomotive, they will blow their horn a couple times usually. Depends how friendly they are, of course. Here we have our signal that is knocked down. We are diverging at this control point, at the Aspen control point. So both these trains just add a lot of interest to an operating session. The work train is pretty cool. It's not a long train, but it definitely adds some interesting operations. And then, of course, the work train also just sitting there and working and changing the operations of a operating session is pretty cool. All right, here's some trains coming through our special new section, or I shouldn't say it's special, but our very last section at the Emery control point. This is a coal train with empties heading eastbound back to the Wyoming coal fields, going through the Devil's Slide control point and across the bridges here that cross the Weber River at Wholesome Cement. Here you can see Wholesome Cement. As we come up to the crossing at Echo. This is a scenery that I did about a month or so ago, representing Echo Canyon. Still has some trees to add here and there, especially where the road goes into the backdrop. But pretty cool scene through here. I'm going to put the 1,000-mile tree there at the curve between the fascia and the tracks. Now you notice the train is slowing down. We haven't even got to the Emery control point yet. Here's where we'll put some trees, as I mentioned a couple times already. And then here's the most recent scene that I'm working on. As you can see, I do have reds on the signals, so I'm coming to a stop. Now I'm not needing to cross over here or anything, but I do need to come to a stop because a special train is coming through. I have to slam on my brakes or otherwise I won't make it. Gotta stop before the signals, which fortunately I've been able to do. Alright, the reason I had to stop at Emery is because our special train, our special hazardous train with empties from Westvaco, is coming down the Wasatch Grade as we come out of one set of tunnels and into another, and then we go across Curvo Bridge. Have our dynamic brakes on here. This is on the original main line, which has a 1.7% grade. In the background, you can see the modern main line, which has a grade of 1.14. So this original main line is used for westbound trains going down the grade. And the modern main line is used for eastbound trains going up the Wasatch Grade. This is the Castle Rock area. The backdrop has actual pictures of Castle Rock. coming up on Emory. I do have my bell going. This is a special train, and so the coal train had to come to a stop, not because they were on the same track and one had to cross over, but only because of this hazardous special train that, for safety concerns, any other train has to come to a complete stop as it goes by. Of course, it keeps its bell on, which is according to rules that whenever you go past a adjacent track train, stationary train, and in an adjacent track, you must have your bell on. I actually should have my brights on because they're going across a crossing. I turned it on too late there. We're trying really hard, all of the people that operate on the layout, we're trying to become better operators and try to remember things and follow the rules as much as possible. But I have to say, our operators do a better job than I do while I'm filming. But I have the excuse that I'm doing multiple things at the same time. But we're getting pretty good at it. Most of the operators are pretty good at remembering to turn the ditch lights off when they come across another train and then put them back on, blowing the horn before crossings, having the bell on at the appropriate time, going the appropriate speed depending on the situation, and just a bunch of things that just makes running the railroad a lot of fun. A lot of people say this railroad does not have enough switching. I think it does have enough switching. Maybe not as much as most HO scale layouts, but there is switching because that is a lot of fun. But it also has the fun of running modern trains over a modern main line and all the different things that you have to be aware of and different operational procedures, and it just is a lot of fun. We usually have about 14 people that come to an operating session, and I have to say being a road engineer is the most popular choice for our operators. There are some people that always like to do some switching, but even those people will occasionally do the road engineer just because it's as much fun as switching. And a lot of people just like it, more than switching. So a little bit of everything keeps things interesting and fun. Thanks so much for watching this video. Sorry there wasn't a lot that was accomplished in the last 2 weeks, but we'll get back busy on getting this scenery complete. Hope you have a great week, everyone. Take care.